I'm sitting on the balcony of a guest house in Chiang Mai, Thailand, the cool night air brushing against my face. My phone lies in my hand, still warm from the call I just received. It was from my brother, Ethan. He's drunk, his words slurred, saying he made a huge mistake by excluding me from his wedding. "I missed you, Liv. We'll fix this," he slurred before the call ended. The audacity of his call, after all that's happened, makes my head spin. But it also brings back a flood of memories, memories that take me back to a time when Ethan and I were inseparable. I'm Liv Thompson, 30 years old, and I work as a senior marketing manager at a tech startup in San Francisco. Ethan, for years older than me, was my rock growing up. Our parents were strict academics, always focused on their research and career advancements. They were often absent, leaving Ethan and me to fend for ourselves in our big, empty house in the suburbs. We spent countless summers building tree houses in our backyard, creating our own little world away from the coldness of our home. Ethan taught me how to ride a bike, and when I fell and scraped my knees, he'd be there to pick me up and bandage my wounds. When I was bullied at school, he'd stand up for me, his tall frame towering over the bullies, scaring them away. Our bond was tested when our parents' marriage fell apart. I was 16 and Ethan was 20, starting his first year at Harvard Law School. The divorce was messy, filled with arguments and silent treatments. Ethan became my anchor, driving home every weekend from Boston to check on me, taking me out for ice cream, and listening to me pour out my heart. When I graduated from college, Ethan was there, cheering the loudest. He helped me move to San Francisco for my first job, and even though he had a busy schedule, he spent hours assembling my IKEA furniture without a single complaint. But then he met Ava. They met at a prestigious law firm in San Francisco, where they both worked. Ethan was head over heels for her from the start. He'd text me about how brilliant she was in the courtroom, how she challenged him to be a better lawyer, and how she laughed at his corny jokes. Our first meeting with Ava was at an upscale restaurant in the city. I noticed right away that Ethan seemed to be constantly seeking her approval. Ava was elegant in her designer dress, but there was a coldness in her eyes when she looked at me. Throughout dinner, she steered the conversation towards their law firm colleagues and their high society events, worlds that I didn't belong to with my marketing job. As time went on, Ethan started to pull away. Our weekly phone calls became less frequent, and when we did talk, the conversations were mostly about his work and Ava. I tried to make an effort to maintain our relationship. I sent him thoughtful birthday gifts, and I even arranged tickets to a basketball game, his favorite sport. But most of my attempts were met with last-minute cancellations or polite but distant responses. 6 months ago, Ethan called to tell me he was engaged to Ava. Despite the growing distance between us, I was genuinely happy for him. I offered to help with the wedding planning, but he hesitated and said that Ava's mother was handling most of it, and they'd hired a wedding planner. I still held on to hope that the wedding would bring us closer again. I waited for the invitation, checking my mailbox every day for months. And then one Tuesday morning, it finally arrived. I remember that day clearly. I woke up early, as usual, to water my plants and go for a jog along the beach. When I came back and checked my mailbox, there was a beautiful, cream-colored envelope with Ethan's handwriting. My heart raced with excitement as I rushed upstairs to open it. But inside, instead of an invitation, there was a handwritten note. "Dear Liv, Ava and I have decided to make our wedding an adults-only event. We hope you understand. Love, Ethan." I read the note over and over again, trying to make sense of it. I'm an adult, for goodness sake. I have a stable job, my own apartment, and I pay my bills. I called Ethan right away, but his phone went straight to voicemail. I left a message, my voice shaking, asking him to call me back. When he didn't respond, I texted him, but his reply was a weak excuse about venue constraints. I was devastated. I called my mother, hoping for some support, but she told me that Ava's parents were paying for most of the wedding, and they had very specific ideas about the guest list. She also said that she'd tried to convince Ethan to include me, but he'd gone along with Ava's wishes. I felt like I'd been erased from his life. I started to question everything about our relationship. Had I done something wrong? Was I really that unimportant to him? That's when I decided to take a stand. I requested all of my accumulated vacation time from work, and without thinking twice, I booked a one-way ticket to Thailand. My journey to Thailand was a blur of emotions. On the plane, I reflected on my life, on how I'd always defined myself in relation to Ethan. I realized that I'd been living in the shadow of our relationship, and I'd lost sight of who I really was. When I arrived in Bangkok, I was immediately overwhelmed by the heat, the noise, and the chaos. But there was also a sense of liberation. I met some amazing people at the hostel I stayed at: Lily from Sydney, a photographer; Jake from London, a freelance writer; and May from Tokyo, a graphic designer. We spent days exploring Bangkok together, trying new foods and visiting temples. One day, while I was lost in a market, I received a text from my mother telling me about the beautiful venue of Ethan's wedding. The pain hit me like a wave, and I had a panic attack. But a kind old woman from a flower stall came to my rescue. She gave me a glass of water and a jasmine flower, and her simple act of kindness made me realize that there was still goodness in the world. I decided to leave Bangkok and head to the beach. In Krabi, I found peace. I spent my days snorkeling, reading, and writing in my journal. I also volunteered at an elephant sanctuary, where I learned about the strong family bonds of elephants. It made me think about how humans often take family for granted. As Ethan's wedding day approached, I felt a knot in my stomach. But I was surrounded by my new friends, who supported me and distracted me. On the day of the wedding, I went on a hike to a hidden waterfall with Lily, Jake, and May. It was a strenuous hike, but the reward at the end, the crystal clear pool beneath the waterfall, was worth it. That night, when I received Ethan's drunk call, I was conflicted. Part of me wanted to believe him, to believe that he really regretted his decision. But another part of me was skeptical. Words are easy, after all. Now, as I sit here in the quiet of the night, I know that I've changed. Thailand has given me the space to heal, to grow, and to discover who I am outside of my relationship with Ethan. I've learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who support you, who see you for who you are, and who stand by you through thick and thin. When I return to San Francisco, I know that things will never be the same between Ethan and me. I'm not sure if we can ever go back to the way we were, but I'm willing to give him a chance. But this time, I'll set boundaries. I'll make sure that I'm valued, that my feelings are respected. The uninvitation that once broke my heart has led me to a new beginning, a new chapter in my life. And I'm ready to embrace it with open arms.